Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual. I share my asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, hit the great big subscribe button down below right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon so you get notified of. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you find the content useful, helpful, insightful in any way, shape or form, or you just want to give this channel some like love. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Well, some shocking news. I've given up on dating and relationships, at least for now, and I'll be talking to you why you might want to do the same. Let's discuss. But first of all, if you didn't know who I am Sandra Bellamy. I'm the author of this beautiful Asexual Perspectives 47 Asexual Stories book. It's real life asexual stories, and I'm working hard to finish the current book for asexuals that I'm writing. So it's taken a lot of time up. I'm also the author of Fibromyalgia Self-Help Handbook, which is how to manage fibromyalgia to have less pain, more energy and feel happier like a superhero rock star. And links are down below to those in the description. So why have I given up on dating and relationships? Now, I've always said on this channel, I'll never give up, right? So I am giving up for now on pursuing dating and relationships. And the reason for this is because I am not feeling good about it anymore. So you should do the same if you are feeling really bad about dating and relationships, if doing it is kind of breaking your soul. You know, if you've got to a stage where you've had enough, you don't think it's working at the moment, and you've tried a lot of things. Doesn't mean to say you've tried everything. Doesn't mean to say you couldn't try other things if you wanted to. But if in your soul at the moment you're feeling like it's not good for you, then you should give it a rest for a while, yeah? Because we have to listen to our soul. We have to listen to ourselves. And sometimes we have to take time out of that pursuing type of lifestyle and environment. So when I was actively on Facebook dating, I've currently switched my profile to take a break on there. I was spending something like 1 to 1.5 hours the majority of time on the dating app. A lot of the time I was spending maybe even more than that, and I was on there pretty much every day for a certain portion of the day. And I'm just thinking with what's happened lately is that I'm getting the same people that I talked to like in November December I think was the furthest it's gone back, December last year, you know. And so if I'm getting the same people over and over again, the people I've spoke to and already dismissed that have come back into my likes, then clearly something is wrong, right? You know, it's Facebook, there's thousands of people out there, and you know, they're all wanting sex, sadly, from the people that I spoke to on Facebook Day. And the only person that said they didn't want intercourse, wanted to do everything else, and wasn't happy that I didn't want to do anything else, and wasn't prepared to travel for someone who basically wasn't prepared to have everything else licked, kissed, sucked, or whatever, which I don't want, you know? So I've decided to give it a rest. I can use that time that I was on that dating app for much more productive things. I feel right now I need to focus on my career a lot more. I need to focus on myself because I've had a lot of ill health, as you know, in recent months. And I really think that it's not feeling good to me anymore. You know, I'm not saying I'm leaving it indefinite. I'm still a romantic person at heart. I'm still, you know, like a hyper romantic heart. And so, you know, it makes me a little bit sad if I ruminate on it too much. But if I lie on my bed like today and I just think, you know, it's really good to not have to do that anymore, to actually give that up, to say, you know, it's not serving me, it's not helping me in my life anymore, and at this point in time I don't want to do it. I don't need a relationship. I don't want to pursue one at the moment. I don't need to be in a relationship. I need to be single. I need to get to the stage where I get into some sort of routine with my, you know, with this channel again, and also with my new channels as well. I want to grow my other channels more, and I want to be writing more books. And I just think, you know, that it's taking time away from what I could be doing, you know, in terms of productivity with what I want to do. And I want to focus on my mission, which predominantly is helping asexuals and helping asexuality to get recognised globally across the whole world as a sexual orientation, so that no asexual has to live in fear of ridicule ever again. You know, the Asexual Guide to Sex book that I'm currently working on is hard for me to do as a personally sex repulsed asexual these days. You know, I'm having to have breaks from it. I'm doing some work on it, then having a break, doing some work on it, then having a break. Sometimes I have to have longer breaks, you know, because it just gets exhausting for me, you know, having to go into minute different details about sex, sexual acts to help asexuals. You know, this is the ultimate guide to sex as far as I'm concerned for asexuals, and it's very draining on someone who's sex repulsed these days, you know, and it's a lot more work than I ever thought I would have to do, because there's a lot of stuff in the stories throughout the book that is in story, you know, in their own personal words. There's tons of stuff in there, but I have to lay the foundation down at the beginning of the book. I'm going through all the health and, you know, safety and aspects of sex, and it's a very responsible thing, you know, and I'm having to delve deep into my past life as well to come up with examples of things. So I find that quite energy draining and difficult. So, you know, I don't want to be spreading my time around anything else, you know. And I think I told you about an entrepreneur group I was in where I received a lot of flack for being asexual, you know, like a lot of nasty comments, which I'm sure a lot of other asexuals get, you know. But it's got to the stage where people are saying stuff that isn't even true to the admin about me, like me trying to get people into my groups. It's like I run asexual groups. I don't want sexuals coming into my groups. Why would I invite sexuals to come into my group? So I don't know what's going on there. But I decided to quit the group because it's very negative, very energy draining. That's a dating and relationships group for entrepreneurs. But to be quite honest with you, I expected better of them. You know, there's some people in there that are lovely, some people that love what I have to say, but, you know, it's just getting ridiculous. I feel that they're kind of discriminating against me because I'm asexual and just making stuff up now to get rid of me. But I decided to cut loose. It's not worth it. I'm still in one of the other entrepreneur dating groups at the moment. I'm still in some other dating groups. I'm still staying in asexual dating groups. I'm still running my own asexual dating groups. You know, none of that is changing, but I'm just not going to be active in them like I was anymore. You know, I'm still going to be active in my own groups, obviously. I still want people to be happy to find a relationship. I'm still going to be here for dating and relationship advice, you know, and it might be a few months down the line that I decide to take it up again. Or it might be that I leave it for 1 year, 2 years, 10 years. You know, I don't know at the moment. All I know is that it's right for me to give it up right now because it's damaging me. I don't feel good about it anymore. My soul is now saying it's about self and mission and helping others, Sandra. It's not about pursuing dating and relationship anymore. You know, you've had time since 2014. This is like the 7th year now. And if someone comes along that happens to be the right person, fair enough. I'll think about it, you know. But at the moment, I'm not interested in that anymore because I don't think it's right for me at this point in time. I feel that I need to be getting my own career sorted, my own life sorted. And I've got so much I want to do myself, and I want to relax and chill now. I don't want my energy and emotions to be tied to a guy in dating relationships. However, with the Facebook take a break function on Facebook dating, anyone who's previously matched with you can actually talk to you. So I had an Indian guy talking to me tonight, messaging me which I didn't, well, he messaged me the day before, but I didn't even check my messages because I wasn't even going in there, you know. But he's only here for study anyway, so it's not like he can have a long-term relationship. He's already saying, oh, I want a love without, you know, pure love as well. That's the type of relationship I want. I'm like, yeah, but you're not asexual as far as I know, you know. But a lot of them just say what they think you want to hear, you know, so I don't expect anything to come of that. And, you know, he's gonna be out of the country anyway eventually, so yeah, there we go. Not exactly my usual Indian type anyway, but, you know, it's nice that he even said hi, I guess, you know, considering people aren't even getting responses on Facebook dating. Like, there was one of the entrepreneur groups, I think it's the one I've just left, they said in, you know, about Facebook dating, like, how's everyone getting on with it? And I gave them my true verdict, you know, that I've been on Facebook dating, that now since about November 2020. So, and I've just left it, well, basically quit it, but I haven't like deactivated my profile. I've just kept it on take a break, you know, so if I want to start again, I don't have to put all the details in again, and people I've matched with can still message me if they want, right? So it just means no new people can see me because my profile's not visible to new people, and I don't get matches come up for me, you know. So my overall view of Facebook dating is it's worth trying. I mean, I got to talk to lots of different types of guys. It was very interesting, even though I had brief conversations with a lot of them, to just get a different type of flavour and energy from different guys. Really, for me though, I really need a guy in his 20s. A guy for me in his 30s, 30 after 32, it's really starting to get too old for me when they're starting to talk about doing intimate stuff. You know, I can't, I don't really want to do it with an older guy, you know. I like guys in their 20s. It's just I feel comfortable around guys in their 20s because my mindset is like a 21-year-old. So I just, you know, the older they get, the less comfortable I feel around them even kissing, you know, and it makes me squirm a bit, to be honest. And so, you know, like for me personally, if I'm going to start that back up again, I'll probably have a max of 32 years old, and even that would be pushing it. I prefer guys in their early to mid 20s, just the way I am. And, you know, overall, though, I was happy with the experience in the sense I got to talk to lots of different guys. You know, I got to experience like a little snippet of their life. It was interesting for me. You never without anyone to talk to. In my experience, a lot of people don't agree. You know, there was a guy who came on my Facebook, I said in the last video, that, you know, he's like, I've not got any responses, but I can get lots of responses on there, you know. People wanting to talk to me, message me, you know, and I can get into conversation, you know. It's kind of like a skill I have as well. You know, I thought about writing a book on Facebook dating and how to succeed on it, you know, getting responses and stuff like that, even if you don't get an actual date. But I mean, I've had video dates from it, you know, so I can help people get that. So that might be a book I do. Who knows? I think it could be. But you know, I feel at the moment I want to take time out for me, and I think if you at all feel that dating relationships is literally depleting your energy or your soul, or you know, it's taking a part of you that you don't want to be taken anymore, then I think you should hold off for a while, and you should reassess yourself and your life, and you should work on yourself and your life, and you should spend that time more productively doing what you want to do. You know, at the end of the day, I don't need a guy. I'm quite self-sufficient. I still want my friends, but I don't actually need a guy, you know. I like kissing. So when my club opens up in like 1 or 2 years' time again because of lockdown, then I'll go back to my club, dance like a mad girl, excuse me, I love it, and kiss some hot foreign guys, you know, in their early to mid-20s, or maybe a bit later 20s, you know. That's what I like. I don't need anything else. I don't need sex or any relationship. You know, this doesn't mean to say I've given up ever, but I just think there's a time and place, and sometimes where you are at in your life is not the right place for a relationship to flourish. And so I think me taking a break and taking time out for me to focus on my life and actually have the mindset of no to dating, no to relationships. I want to stay single right now. I want to not pursue that anymore. I feel it's the right thing for me to do at the moment. You know, I got a bit sick and tired of it. I'm not feeling good about it anymore. I'm feeling like if I really want to truly change my life, I need to stop that, because that's just taking up far too much of my time. If I was already settled in my career and settled in my day job, more, because obviously I only started it last October, and if I was you know, at a stage in my life where I was more settled, you know, like there's stuff I'm trying to get rid of in my home. I've started selling on a place called Vinted, which is a clothing marketplace. I sold 4 items so far, so I want to like sell through some of my stuff in my flat, you know, declutter some of my areas. You notice I've got storage boxes now which are better for keeping things in. You know, I want to get rid of old energies, old stuff, and I want to, you know, like change my life more. And I think if I'm going to change my life more, I've got to get into different types of habits, and one of those is not messaging people on dating and relationship sites. You know, I need to be focused more on writing books, because when I write books, I'm not bothered about a boyfriend. It's when I don't write books that I go towards that, because books for me are love. The books I write are my soul. They're like me loving me. They are like love. They're like, I want to be married to my books, but not person. You know, so for me, my books are my happiness in life, you know, and I need to be writing more, but where am I going to get the time to write more books is if I give up dating and relationships to focus on, thank you for the thumbs up, lots of love, is to focus on more books. And obviously my Asexual Guide to Sex is the most important thing to me at the moment, other than myself and my health, you know, my friends. Asexual Guide to Sex is the be all and end all of books, in terms of, like, you know, it's life changing, and I want to plough my energies. And at the moment, you don't even know how many windows I've got open for researching stuff to do with my Asexual Guide to Sex book. I must have about 13 windows open on my Mac. I'm surprised I can even do this stream and it hasn't stopped yet, because usually my Mac decides to have a meltdown because it can't handle all of that. It says 2009 edition Mac, bless its heart. You're on a Mac here, I'm giving it a stroke. Lots of love to my Mac. So yeah, you know, like, for me, the Asexual Guide to Sex book is everything, you know, and I want the dating and relationship stuff, for me personally, pursuing it, out of the way. I don't want to be concentrating on that anymore, you know, at the moment, because I need to focus on this book. You know, it's thanks for the thumbs up. It's difficult for me to do it. Like I said, as a sex repulsed asexual, it's not easy. I'm having to have breaks. I'm having to, you know, because I do one subject and topic, because there's lots of short chapters within different parts of, you know, the beginning bit that I'm doing, and there's lots to do, more than I thought there is, because I'm trying to explain to asexuals who have never had sex before in their life, who don't know anything about it, what this, that, and the other is. And it's like teaching someone the very basics of something. And there's so many different basics that could come up, you know, and I'm thinking, if I was to start my life over and I didn't know anything about sex, and obviously I'm asexual, so I was still asexual in that life. Oh, hi, Liam. Hey, Sandra. Great to see you. Lots of love to you, Liam. Lovely to see you as always. Big hugs and love for you. So I'm trying to think that if I would go back to my life, and if I was to start over again, not knowing anything about sex, what is it that I would need to know as an asexual person, in terms of a lot of this time keeping myself safe, because I've had a lot of situations which have been unsafe. I've had some abuses, you know, and I want to help as many asexuals as possible to stay safe if they're going to try sex. You know, there's asexuals that are trying it or doing it, whether we like it or not, because, you know, they get into relationships with sexuals. Sexuals want sex, usually. And so many asexuals will try it or participate in it. It's no good a lot of people saying, oh, but asexuals don't have sex, when they do. Some of them, you know? And so this book is very, very complex, thanks for the thumbs up, for me to do. And I think I need to leave dating relationships personally, for me pursuing at the moment, and focus on this book and on other aspects of my life. You know, once this book is finished, which is taking longer than I expected, but it's because I need to get it right, there's a lot more content to it than I thought there would be. And every time I write one topic, it leads on to it. Dale? Oh, what is that? How you pronounce your name? Dale or Deli? Dale, I think. Hey everyone, nice to see you. Anyway, if I got your name wrong, I apologise. So, you know, there's a lot more to this book than I expected there to be, because, you know, when I'm doing one topic, dialy. Is that right? You might have told me that before, I'm not sure, but I can forget how to pronounce the names. Dialy. I think you've been on here before. Anyway, lots of love. So with the Asexual Guide to Sex book that I'm writing, thank you, it's harder than I thought it was going to be writing my part, because there's a lot more to it. And when I start writing about one topic, it leads into another topic, like a great big spider's web. And so I say something in one chapter, short chapter, and I'm like, oh, but if I don't say this, they're not going to know what this means. And if I bring something up in this chapter, they're going to be like, what's that? You just brought something new into it. And I'm trying to do this book as though they know nothing about sex whatsoever, like a child wouldn't, you know? And so it's very, very complex and difficult. And I have to, like yesterday I was doing it, and Saturday, right? We've just gone into Sunday now. Monday. We're 4 minutes past midnight on Monday in the UK now. But basically, I was having to like sleep on the bed for some time, then get up, and I've had my like desk space. You're in my desk space at the moment because this is like a wardrobe that tucks away my desk with my Mac. And so you know, I'm having to like do some work, then rest, because it's energy draining for me, because I'm writing about a topic that's very intense. There's a lot of safety aspects that I need to get right for people. I've got to do research to double check all my facts and my solutions, and what I'm saying, you know. And so it requires a lot of research to double check things. It requires a lot of going back in my past, you know. And when you're trying to relive your past to help others, it's energy draining, because you're having to go back to something that you know, I have to remember what it was like when I did have sex. I have to remember that. What did I think was okay about it? What did I think was good about it? What did I think wasn't so good about it? You know, but I have to be objective, is it? Objective. I have to be objective and tell the truth as I was back then. So I've gone from, I would say, sex neutral years ago, but not really liking it, but sex neutral in the terms of having it with my ex. I was okay to do it. It was consensual. Last long-term ex was a good experience. But now I've gone to the extreme of sex repulsion, where I don't even like to be touched or licked or sucked, or, you know, it's from one kind of extreme to like being naked, doing lots of sexual activities, to the opposite. Extreme to like being naked, doing lots of sexual activities, to the opposite. And so it's very, very difficult for me to put myself back in that position in some ways. And so, you know, I'm having to have breaks from the book. I'm having to write bits, but I have to keep going because I've got to get it done. And a lot of people are wanting this book. You know, I've been writing it with the interviewees since June 2019. Stevie, hi Sandra, I love your channel. Oh, lots of love to you, thank you. As someone who is coming to terms with my asexuality, and although I haven't figured it all out yet, I think this book can help many asexual people. Oh, thank you, Stevie. I really appreciate that. Yes, the book really can help many asexual people. It's incredible, you know. It is really incredible, you know. I'm writing it, and as I'm writing it, I'm thinking, my God, this is like the ultimate guide to sex for asexuals. Everything you'll need to know, really. Certainly in basic terms. There's much more advanced stuff than basic stuff in there, really, but it's hard because I'm having to condense a lot of information as well. Like, I don't want to, you know, like, I could go on and on and on and on and on, because there's so many nuances of sex and sexual activities. You could just go on forever and a day, you know. I mean, you know, I haven't mentioned all the different sex positions you can do. I mean, there's something like 80 something of them, I think, even on one blog. Do you know what I mean? People are, you know, I'm not going to go into that level of detail, because the book would just be ginormous, and, you know, people are not, you know, like, the book itself is going to be huge as it is. The book's probably going to be, as when I've finished it, probably going to be the same size as this book, which is a big book. For the first asexual perspectives, there's 18 interviewees in this one. Well, 17 and me, sorry. So 18 asexuals. This one had 47, including me in it. But there's a lot more depth to what I've gone into with the asexuals, you know. It's in about 6 different parts. So it's a very intense book. It's you know, like, my bit is the bit I've left purposely to the end, but it's a lot that I have to do. But I'm glad, Stevie, that you think it will help a lot of asexual people. It really will, because it'll put asexuality into perspective in sexual terms as well, which I don't think any other book successfully does, or if it does it at all. I mean, obviously, my Asexual Guide to Sex probably is one of the first books on the market that introduced asexuality and sex together. But you know, it's really intense, and so, you know, I wanted to finish it by the end of February. Obviously, we've just gone into March now, so it's probably going to be at least another week that I'm going to need to finish the first, like, finished draft of my bit. I've still got editing to do with it. Stevie, when I save up some money, I'll definitely buy your books. Oh, lots of love, Stevie. Thank you. Yeah, people tend to buy my fibro book quite a bit because this one is actually, although it's aimed at predominantly at fibromyalgia people, it's written in a superhero style, so it's very entertaining reading. It's autobiographical as well, and it does help people to manage their pain in their life. So it can be emotional pain and stuff, and have more energy and be happy even if you haven't got fibro. So although it's directly related to people with fibro, a lot of the stuff in here is really good. It's like personal professional development book. So a lot of asexuals do buy this one as well, but this is my first asexual book, you know, Asexual Perspectives. But yeah, they are worth reading, definitely. They are good books, you know, they're quality books. But yeah, so the Asexual Guide to Sex, like I said, is taking a lot longer, and that's why I'm giving up on dating and relationships, pursuing them at the moment, because I just don't think it's right for me to do that anymore. I think it's taken up far too much of my time, far too much of my energy, and I feel that you know, with the Asexual Guide to Sex, I have to get it finished this month now, March. I have to. It has to be out, you know. I have to finish it. It has to be out. It has to be published. Right, in the UK, the non-essential shops, they reopen on the 12th of April, and I work in a non-essential shop, so you know, I won't have as much time to do this type of thing, so I have to utilise the lockdown time for maximum benefit at the moment. So I have to finish the book, you know, this month. Basically, I want to finish last month, so you know, it needs to be out. Usually the ebook comes out first, then the print edition comes out a few weeks later, about 3 weeks later usually. So because I wait for see the feedback of the ebook just to double check to see if there's anything that I need to change before I go to print, because once it's in print, that's it. You can't go back and change anything. And so yeah, it's quite intense. So yeah, so I've decided to not pursue dating relationships anymore at the moment. I've decided I'm happier on my own. It doesn't feel good for me to do that anymore at the moment. And you know, once my Asexual Guide to Sex book is out, I've got to be spending a lot of hours promoting it. You know, I need to get it well known for the sake of asexuals and asexuality more than anything. You know, this is a book that could change everything where sexuality and asexuality is concerned. It's a book like no other. So, you know, I feel like I've got to devote a lot of my time to that and energy, and it's going to require a good few months, and all the time that I'm spending pursuing dating relationships, like an hour and a half a day sometimes, I can be spending more productively on growing the awareness of the book, you know, and asexuality, because the Asexual Guide to Sex, you know, is an educational book that they should have really in schools and colleges and universities. Therapists should have it, counsellors should have it, doctors should have it. It really should be everywhere. But obviously I have to get the book known. Unfortunately, with Facebook, you can't do a Facebook ad for asexual stuff because it's got the word sexual in it, even though it's asexual. Anything with the word sexual or sex in it, Facebook won't let you do an ad for. So that means I've got to do a lot of organic promotion of it. I need to contact like blogs and newspapers and magazines. So it's a lot of work ahead of me, you know. But I've just got to concentrate on getting the book finished first. So yeah, so for me, dating relationships is not applicable anymore at the moment. It's not something I want to pursue anymore at the moment, because it's not something I feel in a position to actually do and feel good about. I just don't feel good about it anymore. Because I just don't feel it's right in my life at the moment. I feel like I've got too much other stuff I need to do, and it's just a distraction from my true calling, you know. I want to be writing more books, you know. I was thinking about doing some shorter books for asexuals, ones that don't have stories in. Obviously, my books that take a long time to write do have stories in them, but I wanted to do some really short read books for asexuals as well, because I can write them myself and get them out a lot quicker. When other people are involved, it's a lot more time consuming, you know. Stevie, I asked my mum what she thought about asexuality, and she thought it was weird, and my best friends and a sibling has been pressurizing me to have sex, and it's really annoying. Oh, Stevie, that's horrible. I'm really sorry to hear that. Oh, that's horrible. It's really weird, isn't it, why people are hell-bent on people having sex, you know, like I was saying earlier in this video, the entrepreneur group, I've just left the entrepreneur dating and relationship because they're just so negative and they're starting to make up stuff about me now. It's ridiculous. And they're just like, you know, they're telling the admin that I'm trying to get them into my groups. It's like my groups are asexual groups. I don't have sexuals in my asexual groups. The only group I've ever had sexuals in is my asexual friends, and that's very, very, very limited. I think there's less than 10 people in there, and that was because they had partners that were asexual and they want to help their partners and know more about asexuality. But I haven't even let any of those in for a long time because I haven't had any come up, you know. So I don't know what's going on there, but I've left the group. It's so negative, I can't be bothered anymore, you know. It's just distracting me from my mission of helping asexuals, you know. But in there was so many people who were adamant, you know, like I should be in therapy because I should be having sex and sex is healthy and everyone should have sex. It's disgusting. They are like, you need to be naughty. I hate that as well. Because it is something that they, you know, that sexuals do. It's like, oh, you're not an adult unless you're having sex. It's like, I'm an adult because I choose not to have sex. Actually, do you know what I mean? It's more adult to know your own mind and refuse sex than it is to just go along with the flow and be pressurized into it and do it for the sake of society and what other people think. So actually, you're more mature and grown up than they are in that respect, you know? And I get so fed up of people criticising asexuals. I think just these people are just like, for example, in this entrepreneur group, I just think they're all like sexual abusers because they're trying to force and push something on me that I don't want to do, which is sex. It's like, it's disgusting. I thought you're just like sexual abusers. Why are you trying to manipulate my mind into wanting sex when I don't want it? You know, there is nothing wrong with people not wanting sex. I don't know why, you know, people have to force it. And it's not blokes, right? There was a couple of blokes in that group that were bad, but predominantly it's women. I've always had a thing in my life where I get on better with blokes overall than women. Always. I've always had more bloke friends. I've always preferred guys because women can be so bitchy. There's a couple of, you know, people particularly on this channel that are women, the girls that I like, you know, and there's some people, well, probably more than a couple, you know, that come in my feed and come in my chat. They're nice people, right? But a lot of the women in the world, they aren't good. I don't know why guys like women so much overall because, you know, like, they're not good, a lot of them, you know. I don't have a therapist, so this discourse has been very great. Oh, thank you. Bless you. Unfortunately, the therapists are the ones that are saying you should get therapy to me. Do you know what I mean? The therapists usually believe that the asexual person should change to have sex, not the sexual person should not have sex, you know? It's just disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. There was a woman in the entrepreneur group again today. There was a post and I commented trying to be helpful and she was rude to me. So it wasn't about dating and relationships. It was about some social media thing. Thanks for the thumbs up. Lots of love. And they were being rude to me. She goes, oh, and I'm a therapist. I'm thinking, really? Well, I'm glad you're not my therapist because you're not very therapeutic. You're more like horrible and nasty. Do you know what I mean? There's so many people in that group that call themselves life coaches, helping people bring out the best in them. Yeah, those are the women that were criticising me for it being asexual, saying that I should change. I absolutely think it's disgusting. No wonder the world's in the state it is if we've got therapists and counsellors and people being like, not everyone's like this. Not everyone's like it, but there were so many coaches in there, so many people. I went to their profile and blocked them. And, you know, they're having stuff like, I empower people to be their best self. I empower women to be their best self. I'm like, no, you clearly don't. If you're empowering someone to be their best self, it means that you're supporting what is good for them and bringing out the best in them. So if they're a person like me, like you, Stevie, who's happy to go without sex, to be without sex, because we don't need it, like it, or want it, that person should be empowering us to live in that power, which is why I do this channel. You know, people should be happy and feel empowered to be who they are. You know, there's one woman, she goes, oh, I think you need to look deep inside at your childhood and all your past because it's often to do with sexual abuse and all this load of rubbish. Like, one was like, the only two ways you can be asexual is if you've got problems with your hormones or you've like had sexual abuse. It's like disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. The world needs to change. Honestly, I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of all the abusers out there, the people that think you need sex. It's disgusting. I have to spell this out. Anyone who's pushing anyone to have sex who doesn't want, like, or need it, and is not consenting to it, is an abuser. It's called sexual abuse, right? So you want to stop it because I'm fed up with it. Stevie, I also go to college with no asexual people and very few other LGBT, and even then I couldn't hang out with anyone queer because my family do not like them. I still live at home as well. I think you said you're 20 years old, didn't you, Stevie? Are you in the UK or are you abroad? I'm in the UK. I hold asexual meetups usually in person, but I sometimes do them online as well. I haven't done them online. Online they're global, but I haven't done one for ages because I've had ill health and had other stuff going on, which I had to take priority. Oh, you're in the USA. So, I mean, if I ever do an asexual meetup online, then you could attend. But I was meant to do one before Christmas, but then I was really poorly before Christmas. I've actually been off sick from my day job since the 2nd of December. So I'm on furlough at the moment. I'm still signed off sick. So my health is not good at the moment, which is why I don't think pursuing dating relationships is any good for me. You know what I mean? At the moment, I need to give that a break. It's just not healthy for me at the moment because I need to focus on my own health. So, yeah. So, yeah, I'm really sorry you're having trouble. I mean, the world needs to change. Something's got to give, you know. I'm absolutely sick of it. These people are conditioned. They're so conditioned and fixed in that ideology. It's just disgusting. You know, they don't see that they're the ones with the problem if they're trying to change someone who doesn't want to have sex, you know? You should only change someone if they want to be changed or if they've asked for it, you know? What's also is funny is my mum pushed abstinence but also thinks asexuals are weird. Yeah, I don't get those things. So when I was growing up, my parents were very like no sex before marriage, and they didn't talk about sex at all. And then then later on in my life, they're good about my asexuality, by the way. My parents are very good, so I'm very fortunate. But before I found out I was asexual, before I told them I'm asexual, before they knew that, I was with a guy and they thought it's strange I don't want sex with him. Yet they didn't agree with sex before marriage. So, you know, and he didn't want to marry me, so I don't understand that at all. I'm like, well, why would you even be happy with me to want sex with this guy when he doesn't want to marry me? I hadn't known him that long either. And it's like just weird. It's like really kind of weird. You know, like a double-edged sword. It's very strange, isn't it? Strange behaviour. People seem to compartmentalize things in their brain as different things when instead of relating them to each other, which I find bizarre. You know, like my parents didn't talk about sex as a kid. It was always you get your education from school, which is a joke. And I don't think it's great, you know, because it's like you need to make sure you don't get pregnant, you know. It's a good job I was good at researching stuff about that and learning about it for myself, isn't it? With my doctor's help, you know. But yeah, I do think that's, you know, it's just strange, isn't it, when they push abstinence but also think asexuals are weird. It's just like crazy. It's double standards, double-edged sword, double life. It's just weird. It's like I said, it's like they compartmentalize different things. They don't relate it. It's very bizarre behavior. I grew up religious and still am, but are way more liberal than my family. My father and brother are atheists but hate LGBT people. You see, I don't hate any LGBT people. I've got people who are gay and lesbian as my friends. I don't actively participate in LGBT at the moment because, like, I'm trying to get asexuality recognised as a sexual orientation in its own right globally. But obviously, you know, the book is very LGBT friendly, The Asexual Guide to Sex, even more. I mean, the asexual perspectives one is as well. So, you know, I might do more things with the LGBT community in the future. It's just that I specifically want people to see asexuality as different, because we're a sexual orientation that's not sexually attracted to anyone. It's very different to people that are sexually attracted to someone. There has to be some acknowledgement of a sexual orientation in its own right that doesn't want sex at all. And we're not getting the recognition we need. You know, I would love to see asexuals and LGBT working together as two separate entities more, you know, like working alongside each other. Like, this is LGBT and this is asexuals, which sometimes obviously cross over, you know, because I really think we'd be stronger in alliance if we're like separate but coming together. You know, certainly stronger in terms of like getting asexuality recognised globally as a sexual orientation in its own right. At the moment, people, you know, if you talk, people understand LGBT, you know, like heterosexuals, for example, most understand what LGBT means. But if you try and explain asexuality, they don't have a clue. You know, and a lot of people, they go, oh, so you're a lesbian then? You like women then if you're asexual? Is that what you're saying? I'm like, no, they just don't get it, you know? And in order to prevent you know, people being sexually abused, I really want asexuality recognised globally as a sexual orientation in its own right, so people can distinguish the difference. This is LGBT. Some people who are asexual might identify as being part of that group as well, because they might be like a lesbian or gay type of asexual, or trans, obviously, or bi. But, you know, asexuals are different in the sense we don't want sex, because, you know, there needs to be recognition in schools upwards of people not actually wanting sex, and it's okay. Because, you know, I've been in that, I've never ever been subjected to so much like abusive like type of comments in regards to asexuality and that I need to change and like sex. It's horrible. You know, they're asking questions like, have you been molested before? Think back, do regression. It's like, I come to a realisation that I'm asexual and always been asexual. Where I've had sexual abuse or not is irrelevant to that. I have, but I had all my sex after sexual abuse. So I wouldn't, well, I've had more than one sexual abuse, but I've had sex after that, you know, and I had my most sex after both, you know, with a person that was good. You know, I've had a good sexual experience. If I wanted to do sex again, I would. Just, I don't, you know. It's got no bearing on it because it's not the sexual abuse that ever stopped me having sex. I had it after that, you know. I'm not afraid, you know, they're like, oh, you must be afraid of sex. It's like, no, I'm not afraid of it. You must be afraid of intimacy. If I was afraid of intimacy, I wouldn't want to snog a guy full on with my clothes on, bodies intertwined, like pretty much squeezing their whole body. Just I prefer it with clothes on because I find guys much more attractive with clothes on. I find it much more sensual, passionate, nicer with the guy's clothes on. I just find it better experience. I find it more pleasurable, exciting, whatever you want to call it, you know? If I had a fear of intimacy, I wouldn't want to get close to a guy. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. I personally believe asexual people in LGBT, although some people in that community don't believe they belong. Yeah, I mean, I'm hetero, so from my point of view, I don't feel like I fit in there, you know, in terms of like I'm not lesbian, gay, bi, or trans. But my mission, my life purpose is to get asexuality recognised as a sexual orientation in its own right globally, because I need to stop people thinking everyone wants sex. I need recognition for an orientation of asexuality that's separate, you know? I believe LGBT should enclose sexual and non-sexual orientations that are minorities. Yes, I mean, the whole point of asexuality being part of LGBT plus community, which it actually is, whether I like it or not, is part of it, right? Is because it's to do with sexual minorities. Although the list goes on and on and on of sexual minorities, and it can sometimes cloud things. For example, there's a guy that commented on one of my asexual videos. This is a very interesting point, right? And he commented on one of my asexual videos and he said, I don't class myself as asexual at all, Sandra. And he told me why, and I would agree with him. So although he identifies as asexual, he does not identify as an asexual asexual. even though asexual is on the asexuality spectrum. But from what he told me, I would agree with him. He loves sexual activity. He loves lots of sex, to the point where he'd rather have sex than have a relationship. He likes sexual activities and he experiences sexual attraction. The sexual attraction stops. He immediately wants to stop the relationship and get into another one where he experiences a sexual attraction. Because sexual attraction is the most important thing for him. But he doesn't class himself as asexual at all. Which, he loves sexual activities and he loves sex and he experiences sexual attraction. So yeah, it's very interesting because he's very different to the other asexual I knew that was in my group. The asexual I knew in my group lost sexual attraction. Because asexuality is when you experience sexual attraction, but once you get into a relationship, you lose that attraction. But the asexual I know, asexual, he used to keep losing sexual attraction once he got into a relationship, but then he would pursue a relationship with an asexual because he wasn't interested at all in the need for sex, or he didn't need to have sex because he turned, like asexual, he became asexual when he lost sexual attraction. He doesn't want to experience sexual attraction over and over again and keep losing it. He wanted to be with an asexual person. So basically, he would, if he got into a relationship, the sexual attraction wore off, he would be in an asexual relationship and feel asexual towards them. Because he wouldn't be going to any other relationship. Do you see what I mean? It's a huge difference. I think I'm aromantic, so I'd be in the major label sort of LGBT. Yeah, I didn't even know aromantic was in part of the LGBT until someone said it was, because it's very interesting, because aromantic person is to do with romantic orientation, not sexual orientation. So aromantic is someone who is not absence of romantic attraction, which is to do with romantic attraction, not sexual orientation. Obviously, if it's an aromantic asexual person, as opposed to an aromantic sexual person, then the aromantic asexual wouldn't experience sexual attraction or romantic attraction, which I can understand more why they would be an LGBT plus, but sexual aromantic is very interesting because they're still sexual. The other one's to do with their romantic orientation. So it's very interesting. But yeah, so I didn't even realise, because when I first discovered LGBT, it used to be LGBT plus QIA. The A standing for asexual, although it was debatable. But there's a guy I interview in my Asexual Perspectives books, 2017, this was published, from Pride Matters. So he deals with all LGBT people. And he said the A does stand for asexual, but obviously some people will say otherwise. But yes, so I didn't find out till last year that aromantic is supposed to be part of LGBT community. But I find it very interesting. Very interesting that it's sexual orientation plus romantic orientation split, basically, and it's classed as a sexual minority. I think the only people not in LGBT plus are fully allosexual, fully alloromantic, hetero and cisgender, not transgender. Yes, I mean, it's very, very interesting though, because many people in life, if you dig deep, do have nuances. They do have nuances. And so you've got to be very careful that the whole situation doesn't just get diluted so anyone gets shoved in LGBT plus. Because then how are you a minority anymore? Minority individually, but you're a majority of minorities, which just means you're all different, you know? So, for example, a sapiosexual person is someone who experiences sexual attraction based on intelligence. Some people would say this is part of the asexual spectrum, whereas other people would say it's not, it's just part of the sexual spectrum. Just their sexual attraction's different. So it becomes like the more, because obviously I study this stuff a lot, the more you delve deeper into it, like you say, the fully allosexuals, the fully aromantics, hetero and cisgender. I mean, what is fully? You know, what is fully? Who determines fully? Because you can find some heterosexual guys and they will still be attracted sometimes to guys as well, even though they're heterosexual. Heterosexual guys have sex with guys sometimes and they don't consider themselves gay. It's just sex to them. So it's very, very interesting. It's very, very interesting. The more you study it, the more you realise that things aren't very black and white, and the more that it gets diluted, I think. And, you know, there's a danger, for example, with asexuality even, that people are not going to understand it. That there's going to be so many variances, which there are, and more coming out, more and more bordering on sexual, that people could basically think, what's the difference between an asexual person and a sexual person? Not much, you know? And so then they call into question, well, why don't you want sex then, and stuff like this. So it's very, very interesting. I definitely have been exploring more of LGBT recently, as for most of my life it has been described to me as the gays. Yeah, I mean, there's so many to LGBT. I mean, it's LGBT, how I knew it when I kind of started in 2015 talking about asexuality on here. It used to be LGBT plus, Q for queer, I for intersex, A for asexual, but there was debate on whether it's for asexual, agender, or something else. It might have been aromantic at the time, actually, I don't know. Ally. It was agender, asexual, ally. Those were the three things that they were thinking it, and a lot of people were saying, well, it's not fair to have allies because they've got enough space in their own world, you know, and stuff like that. So, you know, the more you dive into it, the more I dive into asexuality and the whole asexuality spectrum, thanks for the thumbs up, the more you realise, it's difficult for me to say, but the more you realise there's not, you know, that if you're not careful, asexuality will lose its recognition by being buried within its own wide scope if you're not careful, you know, and people won't understand. Because for me, I need to get people to understand there is a sexual orientation where the majority or a lot of people within it do not want, like, or need sex. The world is not going to change else. People's attitudes towards sex are never going to change. They're always going to be trying to push people, every single person, into having sex. Because to them, it's natural. It's not natural not to have sex. And if you dilute the effects of, especially pure asexuality, those that are not on the grey end of the spectrum, if you dilute the effect that understanding that worldwide could bring to society and revolutionise it, if you dilute it too much, it becomes like, people are like, what's the difference then? What's the difference, you know? What's the difference between a grey asexual, for example, and a sexual person? What's the difference? They experience sexual attraction under limited, rare, specific circumstances, but not enough to want to act on it. Now, I know, because I've run the Grey and Demi group on Facebook, I understand grey asexuals. I understand how they're different. And I explain it in my Asexual Guide to Sex book, actually. How come grey asexuals are on the asexual spectrum? I explain this so people can understand it. But if you're talking like, the world's not going to change unless we get through to heterosexuals in a big way, because the majority of people in the world are still classing themselves as heterosexual, right? It's the largest population of sexualities. So those are the people we need to be getting through to the most in regards to asexuality recognition. Because those are the people that are most likely to have sex with us, want sex with us, force us to have sex, push our brains to having sex, push their opinions on us about sex. And nothing is going to change if they don't understand there are people orientated towards not wanting sex and it's natural for them, nothing's going to change. There might be more recognition in LGBT community. There might be more articles out and newspapers which will go in the right way. There's more awareness than there is. But something still needs to be done majorly more. You know, majorly more globally. You know, because I don't want kids going to school knowing that they're different, knowing they're not the same as everyone else, knowing they're not like, you know, if they are a woman attracted to a woman, but they're not like a lesbian because they're like, I don't want to have sex with another woman. So I'm not normal. I'm not even a normal gay. What's the matter with me? And they feel lonely, left out and lost. You know, or guys being accused of gay when they're actually asexual. It's very hurtful. You know, there was a woman in the entrepreneur group that I've just left. And she was hell-bent on a guy she knew, I think she was in a relationship with him, insisting he was gay when he said he was asexual. She didn't want to know it. She goes, oh, he's just gay and in denial. Completely invalidating his asexuality, completely. Right? And so it's just disgusting. Right, so if they can accept in this group, this entrepreneur group that's having a go at me about not wanting sex, they can accept gays. Some of them, they're open to that, but they can't accept someone who doesn't want sex. Because gays are still now, you know, wanting sex. They can relate to that a bit more. So, for me personally, in order to change globally, have global change, and limit sexual abuse, there really has to be something in place that says, hey, there's a sexual orientation that by and large they don't want, like, or need sex. It's certainly not natural for them to have it. If they have it, it's because they're choosing to have it for whatever reason, but do not push these people in it. Do not put them through all this therapy saying there's something wrong with them. Do not make them feel like they are a bad, thanks for the thumbs up, they are a bad person because they don't want it. You know, there's children at school now, and, you know, what are they going through? The loneliness, the pain, what are they going through right now? Because people do not get it. People don't understand. I hate being accused of being a lesbian. I've got lesbian friends, but I don't want to be accused of being a lesbian because I'm flaming well not. It's rude to me and it's insulting to me personally. Just like I expect a lesbian wouldn't like to be called asexual if they're not. You know, because it's not who they are. Stevie, asexuality is such a spectrum, but also people who don't experience sexual attraction at all need to be understood that they do not want sex. Exactly. You know, like, so there's the pure asexuals, the ones that don't experience any sexual attraction. Then there's obviously the grey asexuals that experience it under limited, rare, or specific circumstances, experience it enough to want to act, and not experience it, but not enough to want to act on it, of which demisexuals are part of. So the pure asexuals are the ones that don't experience any sexual attraction whatsoever. You know, if you're looking pure versus grey. So yeah, it's there needs to be recognition. There really does, because I fear for people, you know. I fear for, you know, especially when you come up against people, you know, like, I mean, obviously, Stevie, you believe in whatever's good for you to believe in, and you know, everyone's different. I don't think you should have to agree with anything or everything I'm saying or anything like. You've obviously got your own valid opinion. I appreciate that. I really do. You know, there's a lot of people that don't really agree with me when I'm talking about asexuality being recognised in its own right, but there are some people that do, and they understand why. You know, at the end of the day, asexuality is part of the LGBT. Doesn't matter what I think, it's part of it, right? But for my personal mission that's given to me by God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, the powers that be, my mission is specifically asexuality recognised globally within the sexuals. I have to get through to sexuals, and it's not an easy task, because that's the only way we're going to have real big changes, if you get through to sexuals. You know, otherwise nothing's really going to be significantly done globally about this situation, you know. I'm just shocked at how many people are pushing therapy down people's throats who haven't had sex or want it or need it. For a long time, I thought I was gay because I didn't feel sexual attraction nor romantic. Ah, okay. So I guess you identify probably more with LGBT. Yeah, you see, I've never been attracted to women. It really annoys me when people accuse me of being a lesbian. I get it a lot, you know. As soon as I say I'm asexual, oh, so you're a lesbian then? It's like, no, I'm freaking well not, you know. I'm very hetero. So for me, because I'm so hetero, you know, I'm attracted to cisgender guys. You know, for me, I just don't feel I fit in LGBT. I have LGBT friends though, so I'm like an ally in that way to them. And I like supporting my LGBT friends and, you know, stuff like that. But I need asexuality recognised in its own right. I was only taught that asexual was for reproduction. Oh, yeah, I got some stupid bloke saying to me the other day, oh, asexual, I knew that, is how they reproduce in plants. And I'm like, well, I'm not a plant. It's just like ridiculous. You know, absolutely ridiculous. So it's so rude. You know, I'm really hoping that the Asexual Guide to Sex book just really, really, really stops people in their tracks. You know, like, obviously I want sexuals to read it. Not that it's made for asexuals. It's aimed at asexuals. It's to help asexuals. But obviously I want sexuals to read it as well. It's very important, especially if they've got an asexual partner or relative or friend, or they're therapists to asexuals, for example. I want them to read it, because it shows asexuality is different. It's very, you know, I'm here saying and telling stuff. It's very different telling to showing. The Asexual Guide to Sex, with the stories, people can see for themselves through the immersive experience of the stories that asexuals think and feel very differently about sex, even if they do partake in it. Their mindset is different. Some of their physiology can sometimes be different as well. I identify only as asexual and aromantic, so I guess I'm neither straight nor gay or bi. Well, it's, yeah, I mean, you're definitely not, you wouldn't be gay unless you were attracted to the same gender. So some aromantics, right, this is kind of like, some aromantics still have some attractions and others don't. So I have known some aromantics that have aesthetic attraction, for example. So they won't experience any romantic attraction, but they would still have aesthetic attraction for males or females, for example. Many aromantics don't feel this way, but there are some aromantics do. There's some aromantics that are in relationships. Some in relationships with sexuals, for example. There is at least one aromantic person in my Asexual Guide to Sex book. Aromantic asexual person, just so you know. But yeah, there's meant to be more aromantic asexuals than any type of you know, like category of asexuals. So there's supposed to be a lot more aromantics than heteromantics like me, for example. So probably you wouldn't identify as gay or bi or straight. I think you just have to come to the conclusion for yourself how you want to identify. You know, so if you have no attraction for male or female whatsoever, and you're just like aromantic asexual, you're an aromantic asexual, ace. You know, it's difficult for me. I don't identify as queer, even though my sexual orientation is not the norm. I don't identify as queer. I don't like that word for me, personally. Other people identify as queer. I'm happy. You know, like I identify sometimes as a straight asexual, but usually if I'm talking to sexuals, I say I'm hetero asexual, not heterosexual. But I don't class myself as queer, even though many people would call me queer. Because to me, I'm just like a normal hetero person. Normal, what the hell's normal? Doesn't exist. But I don't want sex. And I like to keep my clothes on because I don't like a naked body. So to me, it's not much different. It's like, well, pretty much the same. But I'm a hyper-romantic. I mean, I'm excessively romantic to extreme, which is not normal. But then I haven't ever been normal. I've always been quirky. I used to, before I helped Asexuals, I was known as quirky online. My books are published in my own publishing imprint called Quirky Books. I've still got a blog I've been blogging over 10 years on a blog called Quirky Books. It's actually got very, very popular over the last few months, I have to say. I haven't done a blog post in a while because I've been busy doing other stuff, but I need to get back to that. But yeah. So, I mean, you probably wouldn't class yourself as straight, gay or bi, Stevie, unless you had some sort of attraction for one of gender or the other. But yeah, but you've got to decide for yourself. You know, I don't like telling people what they are or aren't unless they really want my opinion. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's up to you how you identify. But yeah, I usually, I mean, my full title that I give myself happily, the full one, I usually condense it down to heteromantic, asexual. But I identify as a heteromantic, hyperromantic, grey asexual cougar who doesn't like sex, just kissing. So heteromantic, I'm only attracted to guys. Hyperromantic, I'm excessively romantic. Now, I'm not actually a textbook grey asexual. I don't experience any sexual attraction whatsoever. Diddly squat. So I say grey A because I have grey areas. Now, when I bought my Asexual Perspectives book out, I redefined grey A to mean grey areas and separate to grey asexual and grey sexual, which all clump together. But this hasn't officially been changed anywhere. It's what I believe it should be because I have grey areas. So my grey area is kissing, which is very sexual in behaviour despite experiencing zero sexual attraction. And I have high arousal levels despite experiencing zero sexual attraction. I can kiss for like 3 hours, and I love kissing in of it. Kissed on the dance floor for about an hour before, and I love it. I love public kissing. I'm very sexual in some behaviours, but zero sexual attraction with the way I like to dance. So I call all these my grey areas. I think I feel more comfortable adding that on dating sites, for example, asexual dating sites. Sexual guys wouldn't understand the difference, but you know, like, just so that I can say, but I usually say who doesn't like sex, just kissing, because that simplifies things even more, because some people don't get it. I'm a cougar, so basically I'm a girl, an older girl who likes younger guys in their early to mid 20s usually. I usually say younger cougar. And yeah, so I'm attracted to younger guys. I can't help it. You know, there are some homosexual women who identify with gay rather than lesbian. So I think it depends on how you choose to identify. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's up to you how you identify. But I mean, women who are homosexual, another, you know, like gay is usually referred to as the male version, whereas lesbian is usually referred to the female version. But two women are still homosexual, are still gay, really. It's just that usually it's just lesbian and gay is kind of the same thing for women, I guess, because they are gay because they like the same gender. But usually lesbians more aimed at females who are attracted to the same gender or sex, whereas gay is more just for guys. So yeah, I'd agree with you on that. Yeah. So I mean, sometimes I talk about women being gay, but yeah. But yeah, so it's very interesting, isn't it? It's all very, very interesting. Very, very interesting, you know? But yeah, so I don't actually identify as queer. I'm in a group which is for queer people, but when I went in it, I said I don't personally identify as queer, but I support anyone who does. Because I just don't think there's anything wrong with not wanting cisgender guys, you know? So, yeah, it's, you know, but I think a lot of people in the asexual community do identify as queer. I've always said this, if I was born a guy, I would be gay asexual, you know, like a homo-romantic guy. I know that because I have guy traits, and I know that if I was born a guy, I would be attracted to guys still. So if I was born a guy, then I would have been gay, asexual, homo guys. Like, excessively romantically attracted guys, and I prefer, even in as a female, I have more male friends. I'm more attracted to guys as friends. I just prefer guys overall. I get on better with them than anything. I find women, unfortunately, my personal experience for a lot of women is they're very bitchy and very unkind. I think guys are a lot more kind, but usually when I've got into a relationship with a guy, things have changed. So as friends, they've been amazing, incredible, supportive, open, honest, kind, caring. But when I've got into a relationship, they've changed usually. So I think guys make incredible best friends. But when it comes to relationships, I have yet to meet a guy that would be good in a relationship for me. And I've always, so far, been happier being single because of that, really. You know, I've always been more empowered as a single person. I've always got a lot more confidence as a single person. It might be that I'm always meant to be a single person. Although I always have in the back of my mind about a guy I'm meant to be with. But he's not meant to be with me right now anyway. So yeah, you know, I have to concentrate on myself right now. You know, I'm not in a position, I don't think, to be successful at dating relationships at the moment, because I need to take time out for me, which is why I've decided to quit pursuing that for the moment. You know, there's just so much more stuff I need to do with my life. I'm too young. But yeah, so I don't know how long it'll last as a hyper romantic, because as a hyper romantic, it's kind of like difficult sometimes, but I think it'll be good for me. You know, so far I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling like I'm best off pursuing my asexuality work and my career and other things. You know, like I want to write more books as well. I really want to write more books, and I want to get asexuality so badly recognized globally, like to the point of extreme, like it's the most important thing to me in my life. You know, like it is literally getting the Asexual Guide to Sex book is the most important thing in my life, really. It's just something I have to finish and do. It's something I need to get done. You know, like my books, my whole books and writing and my passion, you know, like when I'm no longer on this planet Earth, my lasting legacy will be my books. I'll probably be more famous for my books when I'm no longer here, but then I already know that, so that's fine. But yeah, I do want to get recognised. Well, if I get more recognition while I'm on planet Earth, it means the books are getting more recognised, which is what I want. You know, I don't want them sat on bookshelves. I want people to actually read them and people to understand asexuality better. You know, I really do. It's very important to me. You know, it's like I was handed this mission and I've got to fulfill it. You know, there are other people doing work for asexuals, don't get me wrong, lots of activists. There is more, you know, like Emmerdale is the UK soap that's got an asexual character now. It's a prime time soap, so that's really good. I think a lot of asexual people identify as queer because if they didn't, some people would say you're straight, you're not oppressed. You're straight, you're not oppressed. It's interesting. I don't feel oppressed anyway. You're straight, you're not oppressed. I don't really understand that totally, because I don't feel oppressed because I don't let people oppress me, if you know what I mean. I feel like people are insulting, rude, ignorant, not nice. But I don't feel oppressed because I'll carry on being me, whatever they say. I'm not going to stop talking about asexuality. I'm not going to stop being who I am for no one. Do you know what I mean? So I guess I don't feel oppressed. I feel people are very hurtful, very nasty, some people, about asexuality. But I mean, in the group that I've left, there was still some nice people. And there was one person whose daughter had identified as asexual for several years, and she was really glad I was speaking about it because it really helped her a lot. There was another guy who had a relationship with a woman who he, from my post, he believed was actually asexual. And he said it's a shame that that person couldn't have told him because they might have been able to work something out. But he understood from what I said that a lot of asexuals don't come out because they live in fear of ridicule, which is what I was getting in that group. I was getting a lot of ridicule in that group from a lot of people, but not everyone. And there was another guy that was asking sensible questions about asexuality and wanting to know more about it. He was a lot nicer. And there was another person who was a girl who dated an asexual woman for a year before. So, you know, there was some people that were good in there. Some people were very happy with the information I gave them. So it's not all bad, but I don't feel oppressed because I don't let them oppress me. I mean, I personally feel that way due to my situation with people trying to pressurize me, but I understand your position completely. Yeah, I mean, I feel like in that group I was experiencing a lot of the same things that you are within your home and family, but from strangers. And I've never experienced that type of nastiness before, you know, and ignorance and rudeness, and really trying to change who I am. It was very disturbing that they were like that, you know. Because I'm thinking, if this is the world's therapists and counselors and coaches and meant to be thought leaders, like what the hell is happening with the world, you know? These are people I thought would have a different mindset, clearly not. So yeah, I guess that because I carry on being myself and I do this channel, and I'm still gonna carry on talking about asexuality regardless of what they say, then I don't feel oppressed because I won't let myself be. Because I don't use that word at all, but I completely understand what you mean. And I'm fortunate that I live on my own anyway, because it does help me. You know, if I was in your situation, I'd probably feel a bit trapped. But I mean, I did feel trapped in that group in a way, because I'm like, but obviously I've left it now, because I'm thinking, you know, like it feels like people are trying to bash you, you know what I mean, constantly for being yourself, and instead of being happy for who you are, they instead want to change you, and that's just disgusting. So yeah, Stevie, I can imagine you do feel oppressed in that way, you know, because you're living in a toxic environment for you. And lots of people can live in toxic environments for different reasons. Unfortunate. Trapped is a pretty good word to describe it. Yeah. I'm glad you can relate to that, because that's what I would feel in your situation, trapped. I'd feel trapped, you know. I feel, you know, sometimes in my life I feel trapped in different ways. You know, like situations crop up, and sometimes you feel like you're in a prison cell. Maybe that's kind of like, you know, like you feel like you're boxed in four walls with no way out, and everywhere you turn, it's not got the escape, like fire escape. Get me out of here, you know. So yeah, I think for you, I would feel that way if I was in your position. I would feel deflated, and hurt by their criticisms, and put down, and misunderstood. I'd feel misunderstood if I was in your position. And I'd feel like, why are you being this way with me? Why aren't you understanding me, especially as I'm your own flesh and blood, you know? Why? Why aren't you taking the time to get to know me, being me, the true me, you know? And I think that's what a lot of families don't do. They don't get really get to know their own child, you know, close relations. They think of you as someone they've had. For example, Mogara, hey, lots of love to you. You know, they think of you as someone they gave birth to and who's their sibling and relative, but they don't actually consider you as an individual person who's got their own thoughts and feelings and who is adult. You know, what I think is very rude is when they're speaking to you and putting you down about not being an adult. You see, what people do is they try to mind manipulate people by making you feel bad about yourself so that you start behaving like they want you to be. And this is a lot of psychological manipulation. Not necessarily they mean that. They don't realise they're doing it. because they're uncomfortable. It challenges their ideology, it challenges their conditioning. And so, because they're not used to stuff that's different, they have to put you down to make themselves feel like they're right and you're wrong in order to kind of have some power control in that situation. And it's not good. It's not nice. I think we have to try and think it's a reflection on those people who are feeling out of control and they're trying to push their opinion and feelings and emotions onto you and try and make you wrong when you're not wrong for being you. You know, and there's a lot of this going on, you know. It's terrible, really. You know, people who put people down and slam them for being true to who they are often the people who are not even living their own true authentic life. You know, they're following the crowd, they're easily swayed. They're a bit like a feather in the wind that's being tossed and turned and floating around. You know, they don't have a mind of their own, a lot of them. And it's sad when it's family, you know, it's really sad because you love your family. You just want them to understand you. You want them to be close to you. You want them to love you for who you are. You want them to be there for you, not because of some obligation or circumstance, you know? And all I can say, Steve, is I'm really sorry that they've treating you that way, because you're very welcome with much love on this channel. And I hope that in time they come around and understand you more. I've been quirky my whole life, me too, and have been shamed for it. Oh, bless you. Like, they don't want to have a weird child. And I think that is what they think about asexuality. My family wants to be normal so bad. See, I hate being normal. I never want to be normal. I think it's so boring. You know, but unfortunately, a lot of people are like robots in this world. You know, their sex, marriage, kids, work, die. And anyone who thinks differently to that is kind of like out of the box, is just what they try and repel against or revolt against, you know? And so, you know, if they want to be normal, let them be their normal, but they shouldn't be trying to force you to be their normal, because being quirky and different is what's normal for you. You know, and at the end of the day, my best advice is just to keep being you. However much resilience you might get, however much they might try and change you, don't change yourself for them. Just don't do it. You know, it's hard because sometimes I don't really talk about my parents much on here because I think that's, you know, private really. But sometimes I've said stuff to my parents that they haven't liked. But I'm being true to who I am. I can't just say things to please people or to be normal or to act a certain way, because I'm really my authentic self. You know, like you obviously are, Stevie. You know your own mind. You know what you're all about. You know what you like, what you dislike. You're very assertive, actually. You know, it's good when you tell me in the group chat what you believe. Like, I believe this, Sandra. This is what I believe. You know, me, you've had a great conversation, respecting each other's opinions are different sometimes, but yet we've both got different opinions that are both valid. You know, that's what good, healthy relationships, whether they're friendships, acquaintances, or whatever, should look like. You know, it should be respectful that people have different opinions, and you talk about things like an adult. You don't put people down or criticize them or belittle them for being different or try and make them wrong. It's very bad behaviour. It's very bad behaviour. Another thing that's quite shocking is the amount of therapists that believe that sex has to be part of a relationship, because it means that people don't value relationships without sex being a part of it. And they even devalue themselves, because if they're not having sex in a relationship, they feel rejected. So they're feeling rejected based on the fact a person is having sex with them. So they value their relationship by the amount of sex they are having, and they value themselves by it. So sexuals value themselves by the amount of sex they are or not having. If they don't have sex in the relationship, they feel rejected because their value is in the sex, not in themselves and the relationship. And these therapists and coaches are teaching this. This is just completely rubbish. It's bad. And doesn't seem like anyone can see that. Can no one see how unhealthy behavior and mindset that is, to think that your value in a relationship is based on whether you're having sex or not and how much you are or not having? There's people who are sexual who, to quote one of the people I'm connected to as a sex coach on Facebook, feel like they've died 1,000 deaths because they're not having sex. Right? Why are they giving so much importance to a physical act with someone else, which they have no control over because it's up to the other person whether they have sex or not, and making themselves devalued like that? It's absolute insanity. Some of this world is very insane at times, and these are the people that think they're teaching people healthy stuff and they're not. I have to get off now. Sorry, this turned into a therapy session. Thank you so much for this conversation. It's the first time I've spoken about this. Oh, bless you. Well, I've been on here for 1 hour and 26 minutes now, so I think I'm going to end because it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you as well, Stevie. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm not an actual therapist, but I've been told I should be. I'm not a qualified therapist anyway, put it that way. I'm an asexual coach, mental trainer, educator, and everything else in between. Anyway, thank you so much, Steve, for being in chat. I'll say good night now. Have a wonderful night. I want to thank everyone else who's taken part. Liam, lots of love to you as well. Dieli, thank you very much for being here. And also, Rogara, hope I've pronounced that correctly. Lots of love to you and lots of love to Stevie. Thank you so much, Stevie, for taking part in this discussion. I really appreciate you. And if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, remember to subscribe and hit that great big bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live like now. You can have a nice chat again or post a new video. Until next time, embrace your quirky. Lots of love to you. Take care. Lots of love. Bye, everyone. Bye, Stevie. Bye, everyone.